Welcome to the Google.org event at Temasek Trust's Philanthropy Asia Summit 2025. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed partners and guests for taking the time to join us today. My name is Tala, I'm from the Google team, and it's my privilege to be your MC this afternoon. We are all here because we recognize the opportunities that AI presents and the positive change it's already created. The big question now is, how can we unlock this opportunity and ensure that everyone is able to participate in an AI-driven world? We have an exciting lineup, including a panel session with our speakers from the various public, private, and people sectors. And then after that, we will hear firsthand from some of our Google.org grantees. They have booths around the room, and you will have the chance to go around there, interact with them, ask them questions about how they have adopted AI solutions in their communities. I hear that they've got some really interesting demos, so I hope you'll join and participate. It's going to be an insightful session ahead, so let's not delay any longer. I'm very excited to invite Maria Ralick, our head of Google.org Asia Pacific, for her opening address.
Does this work? Yeah. Well, hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to see so many familiar faces and to meet many of you new to our session. On behalf of Google.org, I would like to welcome you all. And I wish that for the past couple of days, we've been hearing so many things about the importance of innovation, of public-private partnerships, of putting a lot of efforts into making sure that AI is equitable, but it's also equipping everyone and helping everyone unlock its opportunities. So as Tala mentioned, when we thought about this session, we were like, okay, so what is it? What is it that we want to talk about it here? So we are really much at the pivotal moment, and where the question isn't only about what is AI, but also how AI can be really helpful to all of us here in the room. What is it that we can do together in order to support the communities where we live, where we work, and that we are changing with our initiatives? So let me start with one example of who are those communities that are benefiting from AI. So think about a smallhold farmer in Indonesia, in West Java. He's a smallhold potato farmer, and he has been experiencing a lot of challenges that many of the smallhold farmers are facing, whether that is unpredictable weather, from pest outbreaks, etc. Edu Farmers, one of the organizations here in the room, came to us with this great idea: how to support smallhold farmers in Indonesia and across Southeast Asia with the help of AI. So they came to us and they had this great idea to create an AI-enabled solutions to help smallhold farmers identify what type of pesticide that they can use in order to save their crops and keep providing for their families. With this help of this AI solution, Amas Mansur, who is one of the smallhold farmers in Indonesia, he continued to provide for his family because he was taught also how to use that AI solution. So the reason why I'm highlighting that he was taught to use that AI solution, because technology is just an enabler. It's really out there to help all of us to put into use and to help the communities and to ourselves. So this is just one of the stories, and there are so many of these type of stories. Many, including some of us here in the room, are learning new skills to remain relevant for the job market. We also know that some jobs will be displaced, Some new jobs will be created, like with any digital revolution. A couple of months ago at the World Economic Forum, there was a report that talked about the number of new jobs that will be created. So I think that the number was around 170 million new jobs that will be created in the next couple of years, and around 92 million jobs that will be displaced. So the World Economic Forum predicts that that is around 78 million jobs globally of net increase in the next couple of years. And while there are so many challenges, as with any digital revolution, this number also presents a lot of opportunities for all of us here in the region. And that is that we can definitely support and help these communities to learn how to use AI to enable and scale their impacts across the region. So what is it that we do at Google.org? Google.org is the philanthropic arm of Google, and we see a big opportunities to supporting these local organizations in the three main areas where we believe as a company that we can be most helpful and what is really truly our DNA. The first area is knowledge, skills, and learning. And think about this area as helping communities, individuals, micro and small businesses, nonprofits, to think about solutions on how to learn AI skills so then they can thrive in this digital and AI economy. We have with us here Naina and the AVPN team that we have been supporting for the last couple of years on the AI Opportunity Fund. Last year, they launched the $15 million, with our support, AI Opportunity Fund to help more than 700,000 workers across Asia Pacific. But they're not doing this alone. They're working with the Asian Foundation, the Asian Development Bank as an outreach partner, but also they have identified 49 organizations that were just announced a couple of days ago, the winning organizations who will be training these local communities while AVPN and others will be training them through the capacity building program. And now I would like to ask the organizers if we can play a short video of these 49 organizations.
We were like, is this real?
Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. It's news and you made our morning.
We are hoping to help the livelihoods of farmers.
当然就是希望能够针对这些即将毕业进入职场也是教学职场的学生，能够让他们做一些 AI 的赋能。
It helps entry-level job seekers gain competitive skills.
A large part of the work that we see is trying to break down the very complex understanding of what AI is and how they can use that into their everyday life and even just for the different workplaces.
コミュニケーションの課題で苦しむ現場のために AI を活用して動物福祉向上に貢献したいと思います。
We're looking at connecting people to employment opportunities.
AI Opportunity Fund.
加油！
加油！
Well, we congratulate all of these 49 organizations and even more. So I know that we just announced these 49 organizations, but maybe some of you have seen some of the news like 2 days ago that we are extending our support to AVPN with an additional $10 million grant to expand this opportunity to more micro and small businesses across Asia Pacific, but also not only to AVPN, but to Info Exchange as well, who will be training 10,000 nonprofits across Asia Pacific on AI skills. So if you're a nonprofit or you know of a nonprofit who would benefit from these trainings, AI capacity building, please connect them with Info Exchange, and they will provide them with more information on how to attend these AI capacity building training to digitally transform their organizations. Congrats to both of these organizations, and we are looking forward to seeing the impact of these initiatives. Okay, well, that was the first area. The second one is stronger communities, right? So with this area, we are trying to help organizations and individuals who, for example, came online for the first time, and especially during COVID. We know that cybersecurity attacks are out there. Many people are being impacted by financial frauds and scams, so we are always looking for the organizations to support in this area. And one of the organizations, Anthea, is here from the Asia Foundation. We are supporting them with a $15 million fund to, hi Anthea, to launch this APAC cybersecurity fund and train 300,000 micro and small businesses across APAC. Here in Singapore, they are launching cybersecurity clinics with Temasek Polytechnic and Singapore Polytechnic to also match some of the students here with micro and small businesses and their real cybersecurity programs. And finally, scientific progress. So I mentioned one of the organizations at the very beginning, EduFarmers. EduFarmers, and they are using AI and they're applying AI to help their local communities. And we are supporting many more organizations to leverage and apply AI in agriculture, health, maternal health, like in India with Arman, also energy and others. So in closing, as today's session, you'll hear from the inspiring panelists, as Tala mentioned, from public, private, and philanthropic sectors, and how we can build AI solutions to empower everyone. To truly achieve this growth in APAC, these partnerships are essentials, and we have been hearing this from Bill Gates to President Harman earlier in the conference, and we know that this is very important. Just as I hope you are, I'm looking forward to hearing from many of these experts. You'll also hear directly from some of the Google.org grantees on how they're leveraging AI. And by the end of the time today, I hope that you will feel inspired, you will feel informed, and maybe, most importantly, maybe you will be asking ourselves how we can work together to drive more positive impact in our communities. At this point, I would like to welcome on stage Ms. Andrea Pua from the Government of Singapore. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so great to be here. I see many, many friends, and I just know that I'm in the company of a wonderful community. So many thanks to the Google team for organizing this session this afternoon. I'm really delighted to be here. Not just to talk about a subject that's rapidly reshaping our world, that is AI, but also to talk about our role in it as product developers, as policymakers, as philanthropists, in harnessing AI to build a world that we're all proud to be in, where AI can be put to work to make people more productive, to help uplift communities, solve the critical challenges of our time, and ultimately create opportunities for all of us and our future generations to have a better life. 2 years ago, when my colleagues and I were formulating Singapore's revised national AI strategy, we were convinced about two things. One, that the current AI breakthroughs would be more transformative and come at us more quickly than any of us were prepared for. And that two, as countries, we can respond in either one of two ways: outright rejection or an educated embrace. We decided to go with the latter in Singapore, knowing that A, this is not a technology that anyone can turn off or wish away, and B, neither is it any technology for that matter in itself evil or bad. Instead, we chose to focus our energies on unlocking AI's abilities and steering it towards endeavors that will enhance human potential and help us achieve greater inclusion and equity in our society. So whether it was teaching AI in schools and in adult learning environments, not just to learn about or with AI, but to handle it with discernment. We've done this for tens of thousands of Singaporeans. Or deploying AI in our healthcare and research institutes to improve patient outcomes and prevent diseases before they even occur. Or equipping our public service with AI tools to better meet citizens' needs in whatever language. We've tried them all. But we didn't do this alone. On this count, we are grateful for the many, many, many strong partnerships that have made this possible, including with organizations like Google, but also with research partners both locally and internationally, philanthropic groups, startups, and civil society, all of whom play a critical role in bridging the gap between a piece of technology and its ultimate usefulness, and in making sure that the solutions go into the hands of those that might need it the most. Having been on this AI journey the last 2.5 years, I'm still not sure what I'm more surprised by. Whether it's the variety of issues that AI could solve that still remains challenging in this day and age, or is it the energy of the people that I've had the good fortune of working with, who are all in their own ways committed to using AI for good. Whether it's about improving mobility and safety in an urban environment, increasing access to justice, solving cancer, improving energy sustainability, or just equipping young and old to have better defenses against bad actors online. I have witnessed firsthand how people everywhere with the right tools and with the right mindsets could solve problems, small or large, and bring direct impact to their communities. One of my favorite examples still brings me back to our partnership with Google. They had developed a speech-to-text app that could specifically aid individuals with non-standard speech patterns to communicate more directly and effectively. The Singapore government and Google piloted this together with the Movement for the Intellectually Disabled of Singapore, MINDS, and saw for ourselves how precise customization of a speech recognition model can powerfully improve a user's ability to interact with others and lead to all sorts of wonderful side effects, like increasing their confidence and sense of autonomy when navigating in the world. This project is called Project Relate and is available for download on our Android stores, so I would really love to see more users in Singapore benefit from this. This would not have been possible without the close partnership of stakeholders within the Singapore community and holds a promise for so much more, not just for here, but for the region and the world if we dreamed bigger. A solution for 2 could very well become a solution for 2 million, 20 million, or even 200 million. Regardless of the size of your problem statements right now, I thought that there might be 3 big questions that any of us interested in harnessing AI for good should actively try to answer. The first is, why not? Many of us are trained to answer the why, but perhaps really transformational change happens when enough of us dare to ask, why not? And imagine a future that isn't here yet. Who else? As with all successful endeavors, I've learned that we can never do this alone. The adventure needs partners. So don't forge ahead without looking around. I think you'd be surprised at how good ideas can attract incredible talent and energy. And finally, what's next? If there's one characteristic of any AI mover or shaker that I've met, it's that they all have this restless energy and are always looking around the bend for how much further they can go. But more important than that, they all carry an expectation that the next invention won't come about linearly, but more often serendipitously through the networks that you build and by being open to where new connections can take you. So perhaps this is the one human advantage that AI won't quite overcome just yet. So I really look forward to all the conversations that we're having this afternoon. Would really encourage you to make friends and new connections. And I really can't wait to see what all of you here will do with AI. So here's me wishing you all the best. And please reach out if you think that there's any way in which we can work together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I love that. Those questions are great, and I hope we all keep asking ourselves those three questions. Okay, now we will move on to the panel discussion around how we can facilitate cross-sector collaboration to enable social impact organizations to adopt AI. For this, may I invite our moderator, Dr. Ming Tan, who is also the founding executive director for the Tech for Good Institute, and our panelists, Mr. Andrew Ewer, managing director of Government Affairs and Public Policy at Southeast Asia Google, Ms. Naina Batra, CEO of AVPN, and Dr. William Chi, Head of Applied Research for Foundation Models from AI Singapore. I invite the panelists to join me on stage.
Thank you so much, Tala. Good afternoon, everybody. And Andrea, I think a lot of people are taking note of that wonderful framing of the 3 questions, and you might see that framing pop up in many keynotes to come as well, right? Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Tala, for the introduction, and thank you to Google.org as well as Temasek Trust for convening this very important discussion, the AI opportunity, how we can unlock its potential for everyone in the Asia Pacific. Let me introduce the Tech for Good Institute. We're a non-profit organization ourselves, seed funded by Grab in 2021, but really benefiting from all the support from Maria and Google.org as well. And our mission is really to leverage the promise of technology, including AI, to build a more inclusive, equitable, and sustainable Southeast Asia for all. Now, the theme of the Philanthropy Asia Summit is priming Asia for good. And over the last 2 days, I think many of you have been up and down these 3 floors, really been listening about the innovation, solutions, and actions needed to address the challenges for a sustainable, inclusive, and resilient future. And, you know, we've heard so much already from Maria and from Andrea about how AI is transformative and can really accelerate that endeavor. Andrew, Naina, and William, have already been introduced beautifully by Tala, so maybe we can jump right into the first part, which is the AI opportunity. Now, we're already seeing AI in action. We've got 3 wonderful examples in the booths around the room, but the question of opportunity can mean different things depending on where one sits, what sector you're in, whether you're young or old, well-resourced or constrained. So let's have a look from the different perspectives. Andrew, from Google's standpoint, how is the company thinking about, in the words of Andrea, steering endeavors to enhance human potential? You know, how is Google thinking about the potential of AI and translating that into tangible, inclusive opportunities for people specifically across the APAC region?
Well, thanks, Ming. And firstly, isn't it just so lovely to be in a room full of positive energy, discussing a topic where, in the words of Andrea, we're all come together to try and build a future that we're proud to be part of. So firstly, I think let's take a beat just to celebrate that positive moment. And I think that for us, AI really represents the threshold of an incredibly large revolution in technology. And many compare it to the advent of the internet itself. And part of the reason for that is the impact of it can run across multiple sectors. So from our perspective, there's opportunity to impact on the social level. And when it comes to languages, we had last year 100 languages available on Google Translate. That number, and that's taken 20 years to get to. In the last year, we've added 143, and we're hoping soon to get to 1,000. So you can see the scale of the speed of that changing. That has incredible implications for access. There's implications for the economy, $3 trillion, according to Access Partnership, in terms of the impact that it can bring. Impact across education. We've heard some great examples of how that can work. And I know Dr. Petey's in the room here for the ASEAN Foundation. They've done great work in this space. There's impact across the environment. We have a project to help use AI to better contrast traffic patterns at traffic lights. That's reducing emissions by 10%. We have flood forecasting models that have provided alerts to 800,000 people in Bangladesh and India and other flood-prone regions. Cultural implications in terms of the ability to use art cameras to dive deep on canvases and unlock hidden elements of artworks from this region and around the world. and on health, where our AlphaFold research to help use AI to predict protein structures is now being used by 1.7 million different researchers around the world. So from our perspective, there's a huge impact that it can have in multiple areas. We think of a triangle for our contribution in terms of the infrastructure that we provide across the region, submarine cables, data centers. We think of the products we provide that allow people to build on top of and create new ways of reaching people. And we think very importantly of skilling. And I'll just close on that note because I think it's so important and why we were so delighted to be able to announce earlier this week partnership with NANA and AVPN, an additional $10 million with the AI Opportunity Fund. And that builds on $50 million contributed. We're hoping to, therefore, train 720,000 of the workforce. 49,000, more, there's more. And 100,000 small businesses. So I'll pause there. I know Nana can talk a bit more about it, but we're incredibly excited at the opportunity. It's one that we need to approach responsibly, but also boldly. And I think it creates huge potential.
Thank you so much. I'll come back to you on the skilling a little bit later, Andrew. But let me maybe ask Nana, AVPN has for decades already played a very pivotal role in mobilizing capital, catalyzing partnership, and building capabilities to drive impact across Asia, including in areas where I like to think of philanthropy as society's risk capital, right? Where, and you gave examples, lovely examples beyond economic benefit, like the cultural benefit, et cetera, of AI. And Nana, maybe I can ask you to, for your perspective on the transformative potential of AI for social good in particular, and what opportunities would you like philanthropists and nonprofits to be thinking about seizing what opportunities to seize to deliver social impact, especially within local communities? And maybe you have some examples of where AI is already achieving that transformative outcome on the ground, answering that why not question.
No, absolutely, and thank you, Ming, and thank you, Google, for the opportunity to be here today, but also for your support over the past few years in really, doing just that, Ming, taking AI and taking technology to those who need it the most, which is at the local community level. Before we actually started doing the AI Opportunity Fund, we have done 2 rounds of a sustainability seed fund supported by Google, which really looked at how do we make technology accessible to those who are working at, right at the community level. And, Andrew talked about the examples, and I actually want to give life to those examples by talking about the organizations who are actually using those examples, because that's where you get to understand that these are real organizations affecting real people on the ground. So for example, we've actually in the Sustainability Seeds Fund supported Alam Sehat Lastari, or ASRI, to partner with the Rainforest Exchange to develop an AI-powered system that detects forest loss and tracks above-ground carbon storage. And this actually looks at empowering local indigenous communities to protect tropical forests, which of course is absolutely crucial for climate change. But you're working with local indigenous communities. And you gave this example, Andrew, about Bangladesh having access to climate infrastructure. So actually it is through an organization called Coalition for Our Common Future, or COCF, which actually used the Sustainability Seed Fund funding to look at advancing common carbon AI. Now, Common Carbon AI is a tool that was developed to help countries like Vietnam and Bangladesh to access knowledge and infrastructure for climate mitigation without replicating it, without using the high cost that would normally go in to build such infrastructure from scratch. So where I'm coming from is that, it's not that it's not used for social impact, it's providing the access to social impact organizations to actually have these kinds of tools, and which is why we've been really excited with our partnership, because of the open call for application that actually opens it up to any social impact organization who can apply to get access to such kind of technology, which otherwise would be beyond their reach.
Thank you so much, Naina. And I totally echo your thoughts. Together with Info Exchange, the Tech for Good Institute is one of the tech mentors on the Sustainability Seed Fund. And sometimes we come out of these mentoring sessions and we feel we learn more from them.
100%.
Given how inspiring they are and how energetic they are in terms of being able to apply the tech tools to a very, very specific use case. William, maybe I can turn to you. We've heard Andrew talk about 100 languages, 143 languages constantly being added. And the real impact really depends on how inclusive and contextually relevant some of these solutions are. And you've worked on Sea Lion, the large language model trained on Southeast Asian languages. And just on the side, we were talking about all these really interesting use cases that you're trying to use Sea Lion to, apply Sea Lion to. Maybe I can ask you, what are the key opportunities in building and deploying AI to bridge the digital, linguistic, cultural, social, cultural divides? And what does it take to ensure that these solutions truly serve and reflect the diversity of Southeast Asia?
Thank you for the question, Ming. And thanks everyone for having me. Thanks for the invitation. It's really an honor to be here to share our story a little bit. Yeah. So the way I see it is that I think based on what we have discussed, we all agree that AI in our region can be a great equalizer, right? I think there are many disadvantaged people in our region, and I think AI can be a complement to close the disadvantageous gap that they have, right? I think Naina gave a couple of examples, people who are living in remote areas, probably they can have a little bit more access to high quality education content, or maybe a better advice on good nutrition and so on, right? But as we mentioned earlier, the problem is language, right? I think I'm talking about Southeast Asia because that's the scope of my project, but we can extend it a little bit to APAC. 1,200 different languages. Happy to hear that many of them are going to be supported, yeah? And I think many of them are still widely spoken in the region, right? And in AI Singapore, we built this evaluation of LLMs, public evaluation, right? We call it the C-Helm, right? We monitor the performance of LLMs across different languages in our region and also across different aspects from understanding of the language and also the cultural sensitivity and so on, right? I think the good news is that many of the LLMs today are becoming better in our regional languages. But the reality is that there are still big discrepancy between some of the languages, right? Which means that somebody in Cambodia asking for medical advice to LLM in Khmer may not get as reliable recommendation as somebody in Singapore doing the same thing using English. I think it's a little bit unfair, right? And I think we all know the problem is, it's because of the data, right? The data is imbalanced. So I think thanks to Google, we are currently working together in Project SEAL, my partner there, Pratusha. So Project Sea Lion Data, we are trying to build quality data targeting underrepresented languages in Southeast Asia. And the way we are doing it is we try to involve as many as possible the native speakers from the different countries in the region, from various different segments. We learned that that increased the quality, that increased also the cultural representation that they brought to the contents. I think allow me to share a little bit. One of the most motivating part about the Sea Lion project is that, all these people from the different region, they are so enthusiastic. We go to their country, all the AI community, they come to us and say, yeah, we want to do this. It's not easy for them, and we provide the opportunities. They jump on the opportunities. If we don't go to their country, they will reach out to us. Just yesterday, I just got I cannot go to Myanmar these days, yeah? So I just got a message, and we just met with Burmese researchers, right, who say, I'm going to help to contribute in any way I can. Right? So the energy is there, right? So I think we channel this energy to the data, and then we also put the data to train the Sea Lion model, open LLMs. I think as a utility infrastructure, but at the same time also as a demonstration, a little bit of care on how we curate and care about the quality of the data can unlock more use cases. I think there's a lot of opportunities when it comes to building more inclusive language technologies.
Thank you so much, William, and thank you for that, really real reminder that at the end of the day, solutions have to be rooted in the local context. We've talked a little bit about the potential for good, but we also know some of the barriers that you've touched on, that individuals, organizations, societies, or communities might face in putting AI to work for them. And Nina, you talked about access just now as well. And it takes the whole stack, right? From that, Andrew, you mentioned, from the infrastructure, the capabilities, the products, etc. So the question I think we have to, having talked about potential, let's say, what does it take to unlock these opportunities for everyone, which is the purpose today? So William, maybe I start with you, right? This is the Philanthropy Asia Summit. So what, in your view, are the kinds of investments, or one or two key investments, that would be essential for the region, not just to adapt, but maybe even leapfrog existing technologies to be able to move towards that path of inclusive and sustainable growth?
Apologies, I may have more than two.
Go for it, yeah.
So I think the keyword sustainability, I think if you want to make it sustain, in my opinion, we need to get the AI to the hands of the users, the end users, as quickly and as widely as possible. And I believe that the value creation is not just from the users interacting directly with the AI, but also from them using products that have been embedded with AI, right? Digital payment, virtual tutorials, and so on. So to me, I think the key investment in infrastructure that we need to make is all those things that enable, all the developers, product developers in the region, to be creative and to build AI solutions, bring it to meet the needs of all the customers in the region. Yeah. So things like, of course, promoting the sea lion, yeah? Open LLMs for the region. I think that can be a very useful investment, because I think to build LLMs is still very expensive. Yeah, so we bring it up to a certain point and they can develop it further. But I think it's important to not just build open LLMs, bring it as close as possible to meet the regional needs, right? Make it safer, make it, support all the languages, make it sensitive to the culture. Also make it, provide optionalities, because I think for some nations, an LLM bigger than 8 billion parameters is expensive, right? So we have to cover, as many possibilities as possible, right? And I think if we accompany this with open data that supports language inclusivity, actually it will have a big impact, because it will increase the trust of the people in the effort itself. They know what data goes in there, right? So they trust the LLM a little bit more. But I would like to make one last point on that leapfrogging, right? I think we all know, we have witnessed a couple of years of large language models development. And I think we started with text, development of text technology. That's why we chat with ChatGPT, right? I've been traveling around the Southeast Asia region. I learned there are two types of society. Those that type to their WhatsApp, Indonesia, Singapore, Philippines, and those that talk to their WhatsApp, Laos, Cambodia, right? Because of the nature of their language, right? But I think now that the text technology over the past few years have matured, right? In my opinion, there's an opportunity to just leapfrog directly to the voice, and even later on to videos, right? Definitely for Cambodians and Laos, but also even for the Indonesian and the Malaysian, because while they like to type on their WhatsApp, they can still benefit from speaking to it directly, right? So yeah.
Thank you so much, William. And I love the point that you make about AI embedded in the products and getting it into the local developers, right? And maybe Nina, I can bring you in at this point, because it's really about the readiness of people in communities and the local developers to be able to effectively and responsibly deploy that AI in a way that's relevant to the needs of that community. Now, AVPN just released a report very recently called AI for All, and it clearly outlines what an AI just transition looks like. We know we have the digital transition. Now we've got the AI transition, and what an AI maybe you can talk to us a little bit about what an AI just transition looks like, and the calls for supporting workers, those in the workforce, those preparing to enter it, those preparing to use the products, on those who are developing the products, and thinking about what are the key barriers that individuals and MSMEs might face in accessing these opportunities to ensure that no one is left behind and that this transition is just.
No, great question, Ming. And, it really builds on what William has just shared with us, because I think a lot of what William shared with us are the opportunities and, how are people going to benefit from using AI, whether it's embedded in the product or, AI-enabled communication. But there are barriers, and you talked about our latest research, AI for All, building an AI-ready workforce in Asia Pacific, which we just released, and I would love for all of you to go through it. I think it's pretty rigorous, because our survey actually looked at approximately 3,000 individuals across 8 markets: Australia, Singapore, Indonesia, India, South Korea, Japan, Vietnam, and Taiwan, and really looked that which to me was a little bit surprising, and I think when I share these statistics with you, you'd also be surprised, given how much in these last 2.5 days you've heard about AI. You think everyone knows everything about AI, but not the case. We did find that while awareness is still low, there is very, very strong interest and clear areas where, if you make a targeted action, it can actually make a huge difference. So what is the first barrier? The first barrier, surprisingly, is awareness. And we found that 57% of the people that we had surveyed, and I told you we looked at more than 3,000 people, had not yet heard of AI training opportunities. So they had heard of AI, but they didn't know that they could be trained in AI. They thought, this is something far beyond them. It's for scientists or whatever. And of the ones that had, only 15% had actually gone through a program in AI skilling. So look at the opportunity that is there and the problem that we are looking at addressing. And just remember all the countries that I mentioned to you that we've done this survey. So we are going to Taiwan, we're looking at Korea, we're looking at Singapore, we're looking at India, of course, we're looking at Vietnam. So it's a scale of countries, right? Secondly, you talked about MSMEs, and what we found is that MSMEs actually offer a very powerful pathway to scale impact. So 96%, and you know this, of businesses in Asia are MSMEs. And 50 to 80% of the workforce in Asia Pacific actually works for these MSMEs. So therefore, what is a good way to reach this population is also obviously and naturally MSMEs. But what we have found that in these MSMEs, there are barriers like limited digital infrastructure, like high training costs, which actually hinder their adoption of AI techniques, of AI technology. So if we can enable MSMEs to actually integrate AI, we're not only going to reach a larger population, we're actually going to see them become more efficient and thereby contribute more to the economy. You talked about an AI transition. We've spent a lot of time talking about a just energy transition. That's what it means as having a just AI transition. Finally, and this is, not surprising, but people somehow don't seem to, grasp this unless you're from the social sector. Different communities have different needs. Very easy to understand. And we did find this out, that demographic differences, in worker groups and their engagement for AI are very different. So a lot of young people, lots of young people in this room as well, are already engaging with AI. So younger workers know in AI. 1 in 5 surveyed had already participated in an AI program. Women are 1.5 times more likely to actually face an AI-driven job challenge. And yet, only 2.5% of current AI training actually goes to women. So huge gap, huge gap. So I think that's what we found through the report, that we really need to have very targeted skilling. And that's why, we're really very, very excited to partner with Google on the AI Opportunities Fund. For those of you who have not realized, our AI Opportunities Fund targets 3 crucial demographics. It's looking at those who are entering the workforce. It's looking at women who want to re-enter the workforce because they've taken a break or their jobs have changed and shifted. And it's workers whose jobs have been affected by AI. And that's why programs like these are crucial, because unless and until we reach those populations that need it the most, we are not going to really see a just AI, people-centric AI transition, which is what I think we've all come together in this room to work towards.
Thank you so much, Naina. And those statistics really hit home, and those target groups, I think, were very, very well defined. And I think that the center of the conversation around not just the opportunity, but the inclusive opportunity is something which is, I think, very special. And that's why we're all here today to talk about. Maybe building on that question, and in your last comment, Andrew, you talked about upskilling a little bit. And we know that this entire AI revolution is really driven by the private sector in large degree. I mean, obviously we have great organizations like AI Singapore, also working together, but often in collaboration with the private sector. What, in your view, are the opportunities for, number one, public, private, and philanthropic collaborations to build an AI-ready workforce and to enable that just transition? And in particular, I'd like you to think about, to share with us where you think the private sector is uniquely positioned to contribute in this kind of collaborative effort.
Sure, thank you, Ming. And I think it's a critical question because all the technology in the world is useless if people don't know how to use it. So I think skilling goes absolutely right to the heart of making the technology accessible, and to your point, making it accessible in a just way so that it's accessible to all. That goes right to the heart of our own mission statement of making the world's information universally accessible and useful. So it's absolutely core to our own mission as a company. And I think the key to your answer here is that no one can do this alone. Government cannot do this alone. Civil society cannot do this alone. The private sector cannot do this alone. That is why partnership is so important. It's why the panel looks like this. It's why the room looks like this. I think we all recognize the importance of bringing this together. And I think the magic potion here has got 3 elements to it. And the first is having a transformational technology and the resources to deploy that. And that, I think, is a critical role for the private sector. That's often a global level challenge. The second is expertise and having the ability to deploy in sensible ways the resources. And I think, of course, that's where AVPN plays a role. I think also governments play a critical role here, actually across this stack of understanding the deployment challenge. And the third piece, I think, is know-how. And that's to say the ideas, the experience, the connection to community that sits embodied, I think, in the grantees, the 49 grantees from the fund that we see, that sits in many people in this room as well. That kind of local know-how is really critical. So I think you need all things. You need the transformational technology and the resources to roll it out. You need the government to create an enabling environment that facilitates that. You need the expertise to help the deployment and to put the resources where they need to go. And you need, most crucially, you need people on the ground who know their communities, who know what people need to draw all those pieces together. And so there are 3 projects that as I looked through the list of grantees, really jumped out for me. There's Yaya Sen in Indonesia that's helping youth workers to get the AI skills that they need to enter the workforce and be competitive in what is going to be a rapidly changing environment. There's Kaushalya in India, which is working with farmers, a critical group across the region, but particularly so in India, to learn how to use AI tools to make the most of agricultural production, improve yields, and improve food availability for everybody. And the excellently named Awesome School in Korea, which is working to help students and teachers to utilize the latest in AI to improve learning outcomes. So that's the magic, I think, that layer of understanding community need and the ideas of how to use transformational tech in partnership with those who are able to facilitate it and with government who's able to create the enabling environment that generates the spark. So I think that to me is kind of the magic triangle. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And, you know, I love that analogy in terms of students and teachers. And, you know, we just had a conversation about education and that whole stack in terms of your expertise to know how the students, the teachers, the school administrators, the policy makers all have to sort of be on board, right? Not a single section. The clock is telling me that we're almost at time, and you know, thank you so much for all of your insights. But before we close, maybe I can pose a quick rapid fire round, because this is the Philanthropy Asia Summit. We're talking about priming Asia for good, and we're thinking about what would be catalytic. So maybe I can ask each of you in one sentence, if you just had $1 to spend, where would you invest it to ensure effective collaboration towards an inclusive and innovative and impactful sort of AI transformation for the region? Maybe I start with you, Andrea. We'll go around to William.
Sure. I would invest it in AI skilling. I think that is absolutely the foundation here. And the good news is there are a huge number of free courses available to help people scale up. AI Essentials, Gemini for Teachers. So that's where I'd invest in. I can give you back your $1.
Thank you very much. Nina, you get 2.
Yay, thank you. Thank you, Andrew. I have $2. I would actually invest it in setting up a multi-stakeholder collaboration. You know, you talked about it. You said we need all different legs, you know, of this stool. It needs to be a 4-legged stool, and that's what I would spend the money setting up.
Thank you. William?
So Naina, I use only one. I take the extra one, so I need 2, yeah?
Okay.
So
you get 2.
The first one is, I think, because we're talking about collective effort, you know, I would say that actually standardized evaluation is very, very important, because I think today people are flying blind without the, you know, the compass. Actually, they don't know where the gap is, you know, and people, when they collaborate, they don't know what the others are doing, you know, they don't know where the gap is. I think having evaluation is very, very important. Any form, you know, from bias to safety and language capability. My second $1, I will, you know, repeat that point. Right? Basically, I think going back to my earlier observation that people have the energy to want to bring their identity into AI in this region. They want to be part of it. I think if we can have a program, a more structured one that allows all this energy, we harness it, you know, to build an AI that's a little bit more equitable for the region. I think that would be nice.
Thank you so much. If I had to summarize maybe what we've been talking about today, and I think we've heard this several times already from our keynote speakers as well, is that it really is more than just the technology, right? That the innovations and solutions and actions have to be grounded in that collaboration and that multi-stakeholder ecosystem, the private, the public, the philanthropic, and people partnerships to prime Asia for good. Please join me in giving a great big thank you to Andrew, Naina, and William. Thank you so much.